Hello and thank you for tuning in. Today is the 8th of April 2019. It is the day after the start of the Rwandan Tutsi genocide that took place on the 7th of April 1994. Now, the reason I'm starting on such a depressing note is because on this same day, yesterday, Julius Malema, the leader of the third largest political party in South Africa, the Economic Freedom Fighters, tweeted out the following, quote, "Kill them, EFF South Africa, now or never. Victory is certain. Vote EFF. Our land and jobs now. Tela Tupa rally." End quote. Now, the date he posted this might be a coincidence, but somehow I'm skeptical about that. Kill who exactly? Well, have a look at his previous statements of cut the throat of whiteness. We are not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now, or the song "Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer," etc. So you can come to your own conclusion of who needs to be rid of here in South Africa, according to Julius. However, the theme of this podcast is not about the economic failure fighters and their calls to violence. It's about capitalism. More specifically, is capitalism racist or moral? I've seen a lot of people say lately that capitalism is racist. The idea that capitalism is immoral, however, is an old one. But let's get into it. So, racism is defined as the theory that distinctive human characteristics and abilities are determined by race. This is the old Oxford Dictionary definition of the term because it has been altered by postmodernists to mean power plus prejudice, which excludes and shields certain individuals that belong to certain races and societies from being labeled racist, even though they clearly are racist, which can within itself be classified as racist, i.e. only individuals in a certain race can be racist, is kind of racist. Now, racist should not be confused with supremacist, which is an advocate of the supremacy of a particular group, especially one determined by race or sex. But this is now getting into semantics. On to capitalism. Capitalism in its pure form is a system of cooperation without compulsion. It is the free voluntary exchange between individuals to mutual benefit. It's free enterprise. It is economic freedom free from government coercion. Coercion being the threat to force and or violence. The key word in capitalism is economic freedom, the antithesis or opposite of centralized government planning. Milton Friedman, the American economist who received the 1976 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences for his research on consumption analysis, monetary history and theory, and the complexity of stabilization policy, describes political freedom as follows. Political freedom means the absence of coercion of a man by his fellow men. The fundamental threat to freedom is power to coerce, be it in the hands of a monarch, a dictator, an oligarchy, or a momentary majority. The preservation of freedom requires the elimination of such concentration of power to the fullest possible extent and the dispersal and distribution of whatever power cannot be eliminated. A system of checks and balances. Milton Friedman. That's the end quote, sorry. So straight off the bat, we can easily debunk the idea that capitalism is racist or immoral because the principles of capitalism do not carry within them the explicit instruction of racial or ethnic discrimination. Its intrinsic principle is freedom and voluntary choice, not oppression, segregation, separatism, apartheid, exclusion, suppression, compulsion, coercion, and institutional racism. Now, it's also a good idea to remember that economic freedom does not mean lawlessness. The rule of law still applies. Now, after that, the argument goes something like this. Yes, with capitalism allows for the exploitation of people and allows supremacists to gain power over the system and dominate it in such a way. Or white people will manipulate the economy in such a way that they gain systematic supremacy and will economically enslave and or exploit the minority or majority. Something like that. Now, this statement is within itself not only racist towards whites, but it is also racist towards blacks. The statement is one made by a racist with a guilty conscience. It carries within it the idea that black people are or will be unable to compete with whites in a free market. It is the soft bigotry of low expectations. It is saying that the only way black people will be able to survive or thrive in society is if they are economically protected from whites, and if whites are systematically kept in check by laws such as broad-based economic empowerment and so on. That idea within itself is repulsive and racist. It becomes clear that regarding racism, it is not a question of the capitalist system itself, but of morals, ethics, principles, and philosophy. And that is an entire discussion for another podcast. Any system runs on individuals, each pursuing their separate interests. That goes for everyone, regardless what system is employed. Now, we need to ask ourselves, what are the outcomes of capitalism? And on the other hand, of centralized government control over the economy? Now, Milton Friedman also asked the question, how do people vote with their feet? Where are they running to and where are they running from? Are they running towards socialism or towards a free market? Let's have a look at the International Economic Freedom Index. Are people inclined to want to live in these countries? Or are people inclined to want to live in these countries? It is an objective fact, despite the rhetoric spouted by Marxists, that the free market has brought more people out of abject poverty than any other system in the history of mankind. Centralized governments, on the other hand, are responsible for the deaths of countless millions across the globe in the 19th century alone. Some 100 million people dead. The largest failed social experiments in history. Is this what we want? Look at the outcomes, look at the results, look at the evidence. It is a great injustice and an insult to human life that we should demonize the free market in such a way. Look at the global prosperity that has come about as a result of the free market, and we want to withhold that prosperity from desperate and suffering South Africans. Why? Why, I ask you, are we willing to deny such prosperity from South Africans? Yet politicians manage to brainwash us and drag us even further into poverty, division, and soon famine, starvation, conflict, and war. This, I believe, is because they are driven by lust for power. But they can fix their own mistakes and mismanagement if we only give them more power, more of our freedom, more property, income tax. Let's nationalize the banks, the means of production, property, give them more, and they promise a bright future. But it will never be enough. Why should we be enslaved by them? We still have the time and ability to free ourselves, but that time is running out. Remember, you vote yourself into socialism, but you have to shoot your way out, and no one wants that. Now, I will leave you with one last quote by Milton Friedman, and this is a personal statement, so I believe it's not written down. I quote, "A society that puts equality, in the sense of equality of outcome, ahead of freedom will end up with neither equality nor freedom. The use of force to achieve equality will destroy freedom, and the force, introduced for good purposes, will end up in the hands of people who use it to promote their own interests. On the other hand, a society that puts freedom first, as a happy byproduct, end up with both greater freedom and greater equality. Though a byproduct of freedom, greater equality is not an accident. A free society releases the energies and abilities of people to pursue their own objectives. It prevents some people from arbitrarily suppressing others. It does not prevent some people from achieving positions of privilege, but so long as freedom is maintained, it prevents those positions of privilege from becoming institutionalized. They are subject to continued attack by other people, other able, ambitious people. Freedom means diversity, but also mobility. It preserves the opportunity for today's disadvantaged to become tomorrow's privileged, and in the process enables almost anyone, from top to bottom, to enjoy a fuller and richer life." Unquote. Milton Friedman, that was from Free to Choose. As I said, a personal statement. Now, a lot more can be said on this topic, but my intention in this podcast was to specifically talk about whether capitalism is racist or moral, and I believe I've made my case. In a future podcast, I can go further down this path and look at these opposing ideas in more depth. I have posted a link to one of Milton Friedman's speeches called "Is Capitalism Humane?" It's really eye-opening. It's enlightening. It's pretty amazing. Give it a chance. Give it a listen. It's really difficult not to be compelled by Milton Friedman's speech. He is a Nobel laureate after all. But for now, thank you for listening, and let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Also like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button if you would like to be notified when I upload a new video. But until next time, take care of yourselves. Cheers.